que será nuestro siguiente conferencista. Es conocido por ser integrante del cuarteto de música electrónica Kraftwerk, banda en la que participó entre 1973 y 1987 como percusionista. No se puede saber a ciencia cierta el impacto real que Kraftwerk tuvo en la música popular, pero se estima que la mayoría de las canciones con batería electrónica o bajo sintetizado tienen influencias de esta banda. En 1997, Wolfgang Flür lanzó el álbum Time Pipe. Su más reciente proyecto, Llamo, es una plataforma multimedia para su poesía y música en colaboración con otros artistas. Es un proyecto en el que Wolfgang Flür se considera un productor musical que descubre artistas de diferentes géneros y los conecta. Wolfgang Flür también escribió una autobiografía publicada en el año 2000 bajo el título Kraftwerk, I Was a Robot, editada en español por Editorial Milenio, y en este libro narra su evolución, su integración a Kraftwerk, la fabricación de instrumentos, sus éxitos y otras hazañas que ha vivido a lo largo de su trayectoria en el difícil y en ocasiones hostil campo de la música. Recibamos con un fuerte aplauso al señor Wolfgang Flür, acompañado de Ramón Bostich de Norte.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Wonderful day. Nice to be here. The first time for me in Mexico generally, so it's a pleasure to me. So I think I was invited to talk a little bit about my past and how it came all together with these guys of Shadows, and how we started to get music into electronics. So maybe we do something like an interview. My friend asks questions to me, and we give you the chance to take your own questions to me later on. In the backyard there are shown some pictures which we bring tonight in my MgCrOl appearance in the nightclub, if you are interested. So, with that.
Bueno, Wolfgang, primero bienvenido aquí a Tijuana. Tijuana ha sido una ciudad que tiene mucha cultura de música electrónica y bueno, no se puede pensar todos los sonidos electrónicos en Kraftwerk. En el micrófono.
Tijuana ist eine Stadt, das hat viele elektronische Musik, viele Geschichten mit Musik und wir lieben die Innovation, was Neues und ja, was denkst du über Tijuana?
Yes, we
just try in English.
In English, okay. We grew up here in Tijuana. We remember electronic music. I remember in the 70s, maybe it was 1977. Here we used to have a radio station, still the radio station, KGB, and that year we listened to Autobahn, that song. Mm-hmm. We were very surprised, and myself listening electronic sounds in that year was like can see the future of music. Mm-hmm. So could you tell us how that song came, how Autobahn came?
I can talk a little bit about it because it was just the time when I was invited from Ralf and Florian, the founder members of Kraftwerk, to join the group. So when I entered the first time in my life the so-called famous Klingklang studio in Düsseldorf Mintrop Street, there was nearly nothing. It was a normal rehearsing room with a concrete floor and some instruments, an organ. I saw in Farfisa organ some instruments, and damaged trumpet board and anything. And I saw an instrument which looked like a normal home organ, as we say, filicorder from Philips, you saw, from wooden panels and a keyboard on. And that didn't look so interesting to me, so pretty average instrument. And Florian took it, switched it on, and it was the first time of my life that I listened to a synthesizer. In fact, it was a Mini Moog, and it was so pretty new to me. That was 1972, believe that. Even in America, it was not an average, a useful instrument, you know. And my brain went off when I heard to that absolute new sound to me. It was so powerful, you know, such analog sounds coming through the big speakers on the speaker cabinets. And that changed my life from the first day. And on the other hand, Florian had an ARP synthesizer, which was a similar sound, you know, just synthesized sounds. So I came from a school band called the Beethoven's second school band, the Spirits of Sound, and we copied English pop and American rock. You must understand that I come from an age after the war when everything was broken. My age is 65 now, so I'm born in 47, right? And after the war, we had, like, let us say, like a musical vacuum in Germany. We had no pop music. This was new to us. We had Schlager. This is like folk music, you know, coming from the mountains and playing with the zither and anything like that, and harmonium maybe. And on the other hand, there was jazz, of course. And we as young youth, we always were listening to the radio every Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. We listened to Radio Luxembourg on midwave, and we heard to the top 10 from England. This was interesting. So we had something to listen to. This was modern to us. And we listened to American music. Everything was more important to us than everything what came from the radio, what came from Germany, you know. And now the synthesizer. Wow. And the other hand, they were just in the production of a song, what they called Autobahn. Autobahn. You know, they produced some kind of experimental music, was it called. So that was absolute avant-garde. That was nothing what could have its way into the radios, you know. It was played in underground clubs and anywhere else in special scenes. But nothing to go on stage in clubs or in anything. There was no club in that time. And especially no nightclub for bands, and especially no electronica. When I came to Ralf and Florian, they asked me to drum a little bit with them on that, on the first tunes of them. Let us say it was not very professional. The drum pad board, what they had, was like nothing. It was a childish thing to rehearse a little bit. It was broken and had an awful sound. And on the other hand, I was with them some days later in a studio which is in the nature side of Düsseldorf, a little bit in the south, where the very famous Conny Planck, the Planck studio. Yes, it was in an old farmhouse built in, and he was rehearsing with the boys and the synthesizer, the Minimoog, the sounds of Autobahn, with the filters, you know, and anything like that, when they are overtaken by lorries or other cars or maybe Maserati or so. And that was the first time that I listened to anything from Autobahn. And then I had to produce some drums to it, you know.
Wonderful. So before that, the sound of Kraftwerk was without drums, or because now the electronic music or techno music, the drum machines or the electronic drums is very important part. So did you put the drums in the sound Kraftwerk?
There was no drums at all at that moment. There was no drum track. We had to record still on tape machines, you know. And I think this song was still recorded on an 8-track. And I had to think a little bit about it. So I was not the best drummer in the world, I must really tell you, but I did something what I really could do. I drummed like the Beatles drummer. So that was some kind of mercy beat, you know. What I did was and I had a very good beat to the clock. And I drummed that on that tiny machine, and they liked it. And they said, no, we came to you because we have heard you practicing or playing in a little club close to Düsseldorf, the Boutique was it called, with my Spirits of Sound. And they liked it very much. And on the other hand, they grabbed our guitarist, MgCrOl Rother. Does anyone know MgCrOl Rother? So you don't know him, he's very famous in Europe. It was the guitar player, in fact, of my last amateur band. And they took him to Kraftwerk. That was the end of my amateur time, you know. So how could I be friendly to them, you know? On the other hand, this new upcoming music was very interesting to me, you know. And we had an invitement to a German culture show, Aspekte, from the second German national broadcasting company. And that was an honor to us to play there this new music. And we had some other rehearsals, and I couldn't get used to that drum machine. I was nervous of going with them into the TV, you know, with synthesizer music. And no, I had to think about. To have something in comparison to this modern sound, you know. I couldn't go with cow skins, at least, to the studio. So we found a tiny machine that was some kind of a beatbox, which is sometimes used, I think it was Italian product from Bontempi or Farfisa or anything, where such automatic rhythms are inbuilt, like waltz or rumba or what else. And there was also a beat 1 and a beat 2. I really can remember the beat 2 was very interesting. It was absolutely the same rhythm what I played live. So I thought, this is an interesting sound. This is very electronic. So there were some knobs on. We produced the sounds tone by tone, bass drum, snare drum, a bongo or 2 bongos and a cymbal. So I could play them with my fingertips. Sorry. I could play a rhythm with my fingertips, you know. That was nicely. It was a toy. And I thought to go in with that into the TV. And they said, no, this is childish. And so I said, then we must change it. We must do it different. And we were thinking and thinking 2 days or 3 days and came to the result. I am trained as a carpet maker. That was helpful for me. And we took a wooden panel, put some plastic on, which is also on drums, you know, that it shines a little bit glittery and shimmery, you know. And we found some metal plates, round-shaped, and put them on the shape with some screws, and we soldered some cables on the end and put everything out of that little machine and connected it with them. And on the other hand, the minus pole and the plus pole to connect with some brass sticks, you know, or needles, anything like that, you know. So I had 2 sticks again from metal, very thin, you know, and the brass put into the connection with the round metal plates. That was the closed circuit again. So it made the sound, you know, just boom, boom, boom. That was the first electronic trumpet board. It looked very amateurish at the first place, of course, but it was the thing which we used in the first appearance, 1973, October, in the Aspekte show. And you know what happened? The instrument, what they used, the synthesizer, was not known in Germany, promise. Just believed that, because it looked like a home organ, you know. And the other hand, Florian played a flute besides. He was a flute player. And we didn't play Autobahn in that. We played Tanzmusik, dance music. That was a track from the album before, Ralf and Florian. And we rehearsed that. And when we were in the show, I noticed that the cameraman with the big lenses, so, and the TV cameras were that size in that time, you know, with such lenses, were most going on my trumpets. That was the only thing that looked really, sorry, I always lose it, that looked interesting to them, you know, weird, let us say weird. And does anybody understand me? Okay, thank you. I just wanted to have a reaction. So that before I was nervous to play this, we had 2 or 3 appearances in Paris and in the Netherlands University of Utrecht and in Germany as well, in a night radio program. And I was always very nervous to play this. You know, it is so different as when you are used to play drums as a drummer. This is body work. It makes you breathing, it makes you sweating, you know. At least it is really craftswork, you know, and you have to push. It has something to do with body feeling and muscles, you know. And if you play a trumpet sport, you don't need craft, you don't need muscles, you know. It's more a thing which goes in brain. You concentrate. It's an intelligent thing, just to have these needles and you touch it very smooth. And so I was a little bit shy, this is what I want to say. And in the TV show, a switch came on because suddenly I was proud because they put always the lens on my machine and not on them. When I saw it later on the TV show, the recording of it, you know, I said, I'm the only one who is really modern. That was it, you know. But in fact, it was the switch for me. And then, of course, in the following years, we rebuilt it, we made it better and better. And you know what came out of it later? The industry jumps, like they always jump on anything what others do. Amateurs, as we were, we didn't think economically. We didn't take a patent on it. And on the other hand, if we did, they would take the patent, change a little bit on it and get a new patent. So forget the patents, you know. If you are young, I was nearly a student then, you have not the money to go against the industry, you know. So today, every studio or every school class has an electronic trumpet board. I like that idea. It makes me proud, you know.
Él podía ver, visualizaba el futuro que la música en un futuro iba a ser electrónica en su mayoría.
Konntest du die Zukunft sehen, dass in der Zukunft es gibt viel elektronische Musik?
Ja, natürlich. Es wird immer weiter. We speak in German now with this nice guy. It's his nephew, by the way. 16 years, speaks perfectly German. Of course, electronic music hat gerade seinen Anfang. Es fängt ja gerade erst an. Ich bin seit 30 Jahren dabei. Guck mal, die Gitarre und Schlagzeug ist tausende von Jahren alt. Und die Bands spielen heute noch mit Gitarrenmusik. Aber eine Gitarre kann nur einen Klang machen, sie ist eben Gitarre. Eine Violine kann nur Violine sein. Ein Synthesizer kann Millionen von Klängen produzieren. Aber wir benutzen ihn gerade mal seit 40 Jahren. Also es ist ja gerade erst der Anfang. So fragt mich jemand, wie ist denn die Zukunft davon? Ja, sage ich, sie hat doch gerade erst begonnen für dieses Instrument.
Sí, pues sí sabía que iba a ser más grande. Había otros instrumentos como pues la batería o la guitarra. Llevan miles de años y igual empezaron de una idea. Y apenas estaban empezando ellos, no sabían bien a dónde iban, pero había miles de posibilidades con lo que estaban haciendo. Cada sonido que hacían era diferente, al siguiente había millones de posibilidades, entonces sí creía que iba a desarrollarse muchísimo más de lo que estaba hecho.
And when you, at that years, the people, how was the reaction of the people when you play live the shows? How was they dance or just listen to the music?
Yeah, in the beginning it was, shall I translate better?
No,
English.
Yeah?
English?
Is
Okay. In the beginning it was also to the audience very interesting, especially in America. In fact, when Autobahn was out, it was so new to the radios and we didn't get good reactions in the German press, by the way. We were stupid Knöpfchendreher, was nennt man das? verrückte Dreher.
el botón para cambiar los
Yeah,
canales.
crazy. They called us puppets on electronics and emotionless, cool, crazy. It had to be outside of Germany, as it is sometimes in life, you know. You have to earn your credits outside, and when you come back, you are the gods for them. Then the press ran after us. This record came out in America very fast, and immediately it entered the charts until top 4, I think 4 months later after the original release. Believe that? And we were offered a tour in America for 4 weeks. And we went there, and it grew up and grew up in every county. So they had the private radio, which was not used in Germany. Nobody knew. We had only national radio. In America, everything is privately. So every town had its AM radio, you know, FM radio, sorry. And they played it. That county played it. This DJ heard it. Here, give me that record. It's interesting. So it ran over the whole country, that Autobahn sound. In every radio show it played, you know. This was very helpful for our show, for our tour. And the tour was supposed to have 4 weeks, and in the end we had 12 weeks. So 3 months playing Autobahn, haha. In every little studio, in every little theater, in every little Western club, you know, where they have already their heads, cowboy towns, you know, and saloon bars, you know. And all theaters, we played Autobahn, Autobahn, Autobahn. And it became famous and famous. And there is a nice story to tell about. We had a tour, the technician, the truck, the lorry driver, who had to transport our instruments, which was not very much by that time, at night, because America is great. We flew on the day to the next city, and they drove after the show the whole night to make the setup for the next show, as it always is. But this crew was not used to our music. We were Germans. We went on the stage completely different. We had short hair, we had gray suits, we wore shirts and ties, you know. So we were looking more like, students, or let us say businessmen, you know. And there was no sweat on stage like with the rock bands, were head-banging, you know. So this lorry driver, and they didn't know this. And in fact, I think they didn't like it. It was a job for them, in fact. And one day, they had a very long drive from the east to the west. Anywhere they came to the mid-country, a very little town, maybe 10 houses or so, and a gas station. They had to have gas for their lorry, and when they had tanked their car, went into the office to pay the bill, there was a little pocket radio standing, playing Autobahn in the middle of the Pampa. And the lorry driver said to the gas, "That's my band, that's me." He said, "What?" "I am driving them," he said. And from that day, I think it went to LA in that night, you know, he said, "Oh, when I hear you in middle in the Pampa, you know, then you must be famous." And from that day on, he was proud to drive our things, you know. So a lot of things about Autobahn.
You mentioned about now the people can do electronic music very easy with the computers. I remember the album Computer World. At that time, when I saw the art of the record and saw the computer, I can imagine or visual. I saw like the future of the music was electronic music doing with computers. How did you make that album? And I know that album influenced a lot of bands and electro bands like hip hop, like Africa Mambata, that guys. How that album came? How did you did it?
I can't tell it. I mean, it has all to do with the others who listen to us. There must something on which they like and which they want to copy, or say we want that too. Like maybe the English group OMD. Does anybody know OMD, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark?
Yes.
We have been. It's another nice story. It was also the same year, 1975, when we, in the end of that year, in autumn, we had already finished Radioactivity, that album, and we played the Radioactivity show in England. It was only 6 concerts, I think. And it was the second show. We started that second show in Liverpool, and there was another band the same time in England. So we had the posters everywhere in town. The first was Kraftwerk, the Man Machine, Radioactivity show. The opposite poster was Paul McCartney, Wings over Britain. Wow, what could we think in that night? Who comes to us then? We were not so unknown, but of course there was someone who was better known, of course. So I loved always the Beatles. It's my age. I started with Beatles music, copying Ringo Starr, of course, with that Mercy beat, you know. And I would have loved to go to this concert, to Paul McCartney and the Wings over Britain, but I had to work on that evening, unfortunately. And in the end of our show, so the theater, what we had was, of course, a bit smaller than his, of Paul, you know. And in our theater, it was, let us say, 80% filled, so it was not too bad for us. And at the end of the show, we were already in our dressing room. We had a knock at the door. The manager came in and said, there are 4 guys outside. They are very nervous and they really want to keep in touch with you and say hello. We asked, who are they? Yeah, they are young students from Liverpool, Manchester. And can we let them in? And we said, yeah, okay, come in. And then we gave hands and so, and one of them said, I am Andy McCluskey, thank you very much. It's so fantastic to have and heard you. You know, you have shown us the future. This is why I tell you really have shown us the future. We didn't know what to expect. We play guitars and guitar. We cannot go further. We think, we have the idea there is a point that we cannot cross over. Anything is stopping us. So you have shown us the future. Tomorrow we throw our guitars away and we buy synthesizers. And we all know what came out of it, you know. Such wonderful music of OMD. I love OMD and I'm still friendly with Andy McCluskey. We had a lot of parties afterwards in my house, in his house, and so things come like that, you know. We copy each other and find by that our own style, our own mixture. This is the best what could happen to a young musician anyway. It's always good to have a hero to practice, but the apprenticeship must stop any time and you find your own way, you know. That is absolutely necessary.
And how about in the 80s with African Bambata and the hip hop that took a lot of samples of your albums like Trans-Europe Express and Computer World? What did you think? Or did you get in touch with them or they got in touch with you?
I have a lot of contacts with other musicians from who could be my children, of course. Today I do a lot of co-production with younger artists, and we work completely different. I mean, I have left Kraftwerk nearly 15 years ago, you know, so there must be anything what I did in between. There is a change because I must say from my side, Kraftwerk has stopped to work anytime. And from my view, this was in '81 with the Computer World album. It was, for me, it was the peak of Kraftwerk. There came nothing new out of it besides of Tour de France, maybe. But this was already when I left them in '87. So I saw no future for me. I had to leave the band. There was no development. It was contraproductive, as we say, because they had discovered another instrument. It was racing bicycle. And so they were more in the nature and instead in the studio, and it made me sad, you know. I had to do anything, and I stopped working with them. I had to find another thing. I had to find my own way. That needed time. If I would have started straight after Kraftwerk to find something, I think it would always sound like Kraftwerk. If it is too short, I took a rest of 10 years and started something new by a sudden thing. But this is a complete other story. You can read that in my book, I Was a Robot. This is also out in Spanish, I think. I have heard that now. Today, I work with younger people, as you said, and maybe like, for instance, with Bon Harris of Nicer App Group. Does anybody know the Nicer App Group? This is an EBM, you know, EBM music. Started in England, in London, now is produced in California. And we do a co-production where I lend my writing lyrics, I give my voice to projects, also like Annie Hogan, which used to be the keyboard player of Mark Almond and Soft Cell Band. We are playing today some projects in Liverpool together, and I feel very free today. I couldn't have done that in my time of the pioneering years of Kraftwerk, and because it was not wanted from them. So I was not free. Today I feel free, and I can do what I want besides of that, and I'm still a lover of synthesizer and electronic music and electronic drums. Absolute.
You still like doing old school composing music with the synthesizer sequencers, or just with the computers?
No, mostly I love the old analog sounds. I'm not so much into the digital Kram. You translate Kram. Zeug.
Oh, ya, como pura música, sonido. Ahí, sí.
Wolfgang, bueno, me estuviste comentando en este viaje a Guadalajara que un tiempo te dedicaste al diseño de muebles. Eso me sorprendió muchísimo. Bueno, aunque es algo aparte de lo de la música, pero me pareció interesante. ¿Podías platicarnos algo al respecto?
Ja, du hast mir erzählt in Guadalajara über Möbel, dass du machst Möbel. Könntest du das ja ein bisschen sprechen über die Möbeldesign und alles?
Ja, ich musste ja etwas tun.
¿Podría ser en inglés? In English, please.
Yeah. When I had left Kraftwerk, I had to do anything. I had to do anything for earning money for my life, of course. There was no tour, there was no recordings in the studio, so no payment, you know. So I had to find a way. What did I do? I made furniture design. So in my youth, I was trained like a furniture designer and a craftsman, as we say. And that was nearly 10 years, a very successful time in my life, I must say. I loved it, and I thought, okay, this is your future now, you know. So it is always good to have something besides of music making, or what you have learned in your lives, another profession, or maybe another passion, you know. And this was also a really good time, bringing me far away from music, far, far away from music, to stop all that. And in between, I noticed sometimes there's going on a rumor, more and more. The more they listened, there was nothing about Kraftwerk, the more the rumor grew, you know. So I thought a band who has reached a status of rumor is a band which is over. It cannot be else, you know. They are inactive. They don't do anything. They just rest on that what they did, the music, the 6 albums what Kraftwerk did. And I thought, good that you left the robots and did something on your own. And why I came to music again later on, that was a complete different story. As I told you, it had something to do with a sad story with that Bosnian war in Europe. And I saw suddenly myself sitting in a very sad evening. I can remember that very clearly, writing lyrics, because I always saw these horrible scenes in the TV, what happened there, you know. And I saw me writing lyrics for a children's song. Little Child was the title. I really can tell you, just to free my heart from all the sadness, you know. And this, to keep that pressure from me, was really a relief for me. I wrote and wrote and wrote, and suddenly I discovered the lyricist in me. That was absolutely new. I was writing lyrics from then on, and I discovered also to make melodies out of that. And I got introduced to a young man close to Düsseldorf who had a little, what is it, a MIDI studio. Can you believe that I never knew a MIDI studio in, let us say when was that, in 1992? It was new to me. When I left Kraftwerk, we have already still recorded on a 24-track machine, you know. We were overtaken by the music because everyone in the studios used MIDI technique, not we. They did it later, I have heard about it, you know. So I was getting used to a MIDI studio and MIDI technique by a young man in the age of 18. So he taught me, and I taught him, how we went into the studio, prepared with an idea, prepared with a vision, prepared with a goal, prepared with the lyrics, prepared with melodies, and then going to put that into the machine, how good that sound. There is a wood in the dark. Let us make a sound which sounds like an old, cold wood, dark, you know. Make wood, anything like that, you know. So that was absolutely new. So we prepared music, you know. We created music from a story which we had. This is very helpful, I can tell you. Like a storyteller. A storyteller, maybe your aunt, maybe your what's this, Oma? Your grandmother. Maybe your grandmother told you fairy tales in the evening. What happens? A child sees the whole scene suddenly. He can nearly feel the temperature. If the grandmother has a good talent to talk, to tell it, everything happens in the head, you know. So this is what we do. I think I could really good explain what I wanted, the story of it. And my partners were like a band, maybe the project Mouse on Mars, very famous duo from Cologne, helped me suddenly to go into an album project. We did music again. Completely different than Kraftwerk, you know, because I used their talents and they used my talent. And this was a very good mixture and a fortune to me. And we immediately got a contract with EMI Germany and we brought that album out. The project was titled YAMO, Y-A-M-O. This is my music project since Kraftwerk, and the album is called Time Pie. And so I was a proud man suddenly to grow from a drummer to a producer.
Nice. You are very important part and inspiration for different generations of musicians. What do you recommend or ¿cómo preguntarle qué le recomiendas o qué le aconsejas a la gente que está empezando en la música?
Was kannst du sagen zu junge Leute oder die Leute, das machen Musik heute? Was so ein Tipp für Musik machen?
Yeah, that's not easy to say, but there is always that general question. Is there, you cannot go to the school and learn hit making, how to make a hit. There are also schools in Germany that teach book writings. I became a book writer myself. It's not the autobiography from me. I also wrote a book afterwards about the Germans. It had nothing to do with music. So it's weird stories about true Germans, 16 short stories. It is only to learn by heart and talent. If you have no talent, forget it, you know. You cannot learn that. You can learn some practice, of course, electronic. This is mathematics, you know. But if the main thing is not there, if you have not a vision and you really fight for it, there are so many people, they are laughing, forget them all, you know. You have to fight. You have to always to be on your way. Forget mother, forget father, forget your brothers and sisters. Everyone wants to put a stone into your way, you know. Forget them all. If you believe in you, young man, young girl, go this way. This is the only thing what I can tell you, you know. So you must be also powerful.
Thank you very much, Wolfgang. Thank you.
Are we still through? Thank you.
Yo creo que tenemos tiempo para unas preguntas. ¿Cómo andamos de tiempo? ¿Sí? ¿Quieren hacer alguna pregunta?
I have a question over here. Mr. Flür,
Yeah.
I just wanted to know what YAMO stands for.
Pardon?
The word YAMO, what does it stand for?
Jamo, was bedeutet Jamo?
Yeah, the word YAMO, your project, what does it stand for? I mean, what does it mean, like, basically?
This is wie sagt man das ist eine Worterfindung. This is a word creation. It is, I had a singer on one of my first songs, which I just declared of that benefit song for the children of the orphans of the Bosnian War. And we had a singer, a female singer. Her name was Janine Moers. So we had the J-A-M-O from Moers, M-O-E-R-S, you know. And I thought this is a good synonym for that, what we were doing then. Yamo sounded warm to me, you know, and completely different than Kraftwerk. Kraftwerk is harsh, you know, and that's industry, that is experimental, this is cold, this is synthesizer, you know, and this is analog. So I wanted to fill something new in my heart, which had to do not with minimalistic as Kraftwerk, instead of maximalistic. And Yamo is just that sound creation of the words of the name of my first singer, and we kept it later on, you know. Very easy.
Thank you.
If I understand correctly, you put together your own instruments, and this is something that needs some electronic skills, perhaps. Did you have any formal training to do that, or it was just like playing around with stuff and getting to build something for music?
Did you understand that?
Ja, hast du etwas gelernt oder trainiert, ein Class von Musik oder?
No, I didn't. If you mean that, I have not studied music. I'm a self-teacher. I did everything. But I have a training in carpet making, you know, and furniture making, and apprenticeship. So I have that profession really made for 3 or 4 years. So with everything what is needed. In musically, not. The drumming was done by myself.
But to build your instrument,
Yeah.
did you have formal training to build your instrument?
Yes, I mean, that comes from my apprenticeship as a carpet maker, you know.
Desafortunadamente se nos termina el tiempo para preguntas y respuestas. Si la haces muy breve.
Muy breve.
Adelante, por favor.
Hello. Would you ever consider reuniting in the near future? It could be very profitable.
The worst thing for me is there is so much echo. I cannot understand the questions.
Okay, will you consider reuniting in the near future? After all, it could be very profitable since your die-hard fans could demand it. que se pueden reunir, que se piensan reunir en un futuro.
Kraftwerk, wird Kraftwerk irgendwann zusammenkommen?
I have waited for that question. It's always, you know. And the next question is, Mr. Flür, you know, some days ago we have played in Puebla. I did two telephone interviews, and there was a lady talking to me, and the last question was, and Mr. Flür, could you please tell us the future of the electronic music? You know how often I was asked this question in the last 10 or 15 years, you know. How could I, you know? It's impossible to say this. No? Sorry, I can't tell that. So going back to the question was?
Kraftwerk?
No, I don't think so. Sorry for you, it's like the Beatles, you won't have them back. And you must, and it is good that it is. It is really good that it is. You must think we were and we are for, see them, that speaks at itself, you know. Completely different characters. And we didn't stay as we were, we developed like everyone, you all are developing. In 10 or 20 years you are completely different, you know, in your body and in your heart, in your here, you know. And the same happened to us. Any time came the time we didn't fit anymore. It was over. Everyone had different interests, we went out, like sometimes in relationships with man and wife, it doesn't function anymore. So I was the first to leave the band because I didn't fit anymore. I developed very much faster than them, maybe. So I had to do anything else. And it would not be my delight to go on like the rest of the band today. It's only one original member left, believe me, to play every evening Autobahn anywhere in the world. I think I would go drunken every night then, you know. It would not be my taste and my delight. There is one left, and let me say that for the last tonight. Another journalist asked me, you were the Musikarbeiter, the robots, Musikarbeiter, the workers. What?
Ja, el que hacía la música.
Yeah, okay. Ralph always told that in his interesting, intelligent interviews to the journalists and said, everyone is replaceable. He liked that idea. And you know what came out of it when I left the band, and shortly after me, the other colleague, Karl Bartos, there was another one had to be replaced. Then there were only two left, Ralf and Florian. Then 2 years ago, Florian, this is the founder member of all, also left the band, also replaced. So Ralf is on the way with 3 robots now. And when he did always these intelligent interviews to the journalists and said, everyone is replaceable, there was only one chance today for him to get a chapeau for me today, when he now had the wise idea to replace also himself, to put him away and replace also by another musician.